We are going live. Hey, everybody. I want to welcome you, Kim Oliver, to the show tonight for February 2021. Kim is a nationally certified clinical counselor. She developed her own coaching program called Choice Theory, which teaches that you don't need to be a victim of depression or anxiety. Uh-oh, what's going on here? Are you kidding me right now? It booted me out of YouTube.
I didn't develop choice theory. I developed mental freedom, just so you know.
Well, okay, I may have to start all over because uh this thing, no, it's showing. I don't know what this is all about. Why it's giving me this error message. This is so bizarre because I'm looking at it on the screen here and it's showing. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, you're here, I'm here. So ladies, what we have we have Kim here. She's an international speaker, she's a blogger, she's a podcast host and owner of Academy of Choice Coaching. It's a board certified coaching program. She also founded her own company called Coaching for Excellence back in 2005. So she's a veteran. Kim is also an award-winning author of 4 books, including Choosing Me Now, Letting Go of What Doesn't Work to Make Room for What Does. And that's the subject of our discussion tonight. Kim joins the February 2021 lineup of inspiring guests to share her belief that responsibility, trust, and appreciation are keys to a happy, peaceful, and satisfying life for you. So let's welcome Kim to February 2021. Hey, Kim.
Hey, Deborah, thanks so much for having me. I'm
I'm
looking
so
forward
glad
to
you're
this show.
here. Yeah, I'm really anxious to hear, what you have to say and our month of self-love and, this inspiring stuff about choosing yourself. That is so hard for women, but we'll get into that in a minute. Let's
Amen.
start with your book because I was reading it. It's very thorough. It's lots of like, projects and homework to do and self-analysis. So I can tell you put a lot of thought into it. But I really wanted to find out what was your inspirational moment. What motivated you to write this particular book?
Well, I would say it wasn't exactly a moment, it was more like a stretch. And I don't know. I was getting a lot of comments from people, and it was so interesting. These were people I knew, some I didn't know, some I knew just a little. And they always were asking me, "Are you taking care of yourself?" Like they were worried about me. And I thought, well, of course I'm taking care of myself. I'm a single woman. I live alone. Who's going to take care of me if I'm not taking care of me? I'm still here, right? So I must be taking care of myself. But then I started to wonder, what am I projecting and what do I look like that people are actually saying, "Are you taking care of yourself?" I thought I must be a mess and not even know. So then I asked myself the question, what does it mean to really take care of yourself, right? Like, I know the usual culprits, right? Everybody says exercise, eat healthy, get rest. But I knew it was deeper than that because I do exercise, I do eat healthy, I do get rest. So I knew it was more than that. And so I really started to connect the concept of taking care of yourself with something that I learned early on in my counseling career called choice theory psychology. So, um, in choice theory psychology, there's 5 basic needs. And it's really focused on building relationships, usually with other people. And the way you do that is you become a need satisfying person to someone. And when you are, people tend to like you. So I thought, well, geez, how do you become a need satisfying person for yourself? That was like a big question for me. And so when I started to put it into the context of those 5 basic needs, it became relatively a no-brainer for me to be able to write about it. But I struggled with it in the beginning. And in fact, I wrote the financial part of my book first. That was like just like that. It just poured out of me. One night I was up until 4 in the morning and I actually wrote the whole part. And
Wow.
then I thought, what else am I going to put in this book? Because I knew there was more. And it took me about another year to get back into it. And then I finished writing it. But it was after connecting it with choice theory that it really made sense to me.
Wow, that is great. Well, when you're talking about struggles, that's our key word here because people are struggling to love themselves, struggling to set boundaries. There's just a lot of struggles with women. But I wanted to ask you what you thought was, in your work, what you may have found was the chief reasons or why, what patterns kept coming up, why women struggle so much to prioritize themselves and their needs.
Well, it really goes to neurology, right? Neurology tells us that our brain rewards us twice as much when we do something for someone else than it does when we do it for ourselves. So it actually feels better to help others. So I know that women tend to be wired for connection, for nurturing, for caring. And so we tend to take on that role with the people in our lives. And it's fine. We need to do that with our babies, right? That they need us.
Right.
So we do that with babies. And then our babies grow up and we're still taking care of them. And we don't need to take care of them anymore, but we're still doing that. So there's so many things because once our babies go and they leave our house, then we're caring for our husbands or our aging parents or our girlfriend. We're always taking care of other people and doing all of the tasks that we load onto ourselves to make sure we get done. That at the end of the day is over and you're exhausted and you're thinking, well, what? I had no time to do something for myself. And we really need to start prioritizing and protecting that time and space that we use to prioritize ourselves.
Okay. I see a lot of women seem to feel guilty. They feel, well, if I make myself a priority, well, I'm not a good mom. I'm not a good wife. I'm not a good girlfriend. I'm not a good daughter. I'm not a good sister. I'm not a good employee. I'm just whatever. They like berate themselves if they put themselves first and feel really bad about it. So there's this interior struggle. I mean, how do you suggest a woman deal with that kind of feeling of guilt?
Well, I think you got to change the narrative in your head, right? We have this narrative that says I'm a bad person if I don't put other people first. And I think it's important to change that story because you need to understand that other people, yes, they're important, but who's going to take care of those people when you're in the hospital or worse, right? You
Mhm.
cannot keep going like the ever ready Energizer bunny and think that you are going to be a good person for these people that you're trying to care for. I know when I'm stressed, I remember back when I had babies. So I had two boys and they were only 19 months apart. And I know when I was stressed, I yelled at them. I was not the best mom that I could be. So change the narrative to I need to nurture myself so I can better serve those that I am caring for. Because until I do that, I'm not bringing my best self to that relationship.
Okay. So it's talking to yourself about the pros of it instead of the negatives. Seems like what you're
Absolutely.
saying. Okay.
And it's not a choice. It's not between I'm going to care for others or myself. You can still do both, but you need to make sure that you are taking care of yourself before you start taking care of others. But there's so much more to taking care of yourself than just the eating right and exercising. So, if you look at the book, you'll see that there's those 5 areas of the basic needs where there's 3 things under each area I ask readers to look at, and you can tweak them and fix them and then you're good. It's not like every single day you need to go get your nails done or get a massage or read a book. It's not like that. It's finding the things that aren't serving you in your life and getting rid of them and replacing them with something that's going to serve you better.
Okay. So what happens to us when we're going along and we're just taking care of everyone else's needs, prioritizing other people. Not saying we're not taking care of ourselves sometimes, but
Okay.
when we prioritize other people, are there certain kinds of things that actually happen to us that may be detrimental?
Well, sure. If you go ahead and you prioritize other people and you're not taking care of yourself, you can end up sick. We often develop autoimmune disorders that have no medical cause that can be found. And a lot of times it's because we're unhappy, we're stressed. We develop, when you're stressed, you develop, you can have breathing problems, you can have heart problems, you can go have strokes. I mean, there's all kinds of evidence out there to show what um, bad stress can do to a person physically. So there's that. And then there's what we do to ourselves with talking to ourselves about, we know we're prioritizing other people, but maybe we're feeling like we shouldn't be and we're resenting it. And then we start resenting the other people in our life. So we can really end up hurting ourselves and hurting the relationships with these people that we're trying to put in front of ourselves. We need to be at peak performance in order to really give our best to other people.
Gotcha. Well, ladies, I saw a couple of questions fly by. Please hold your questions. We'll be taking questions in about, I don't know, maybe 10 more minutes. Okay. So get your questions ready as you listen along, and then I'll ask you for them, and Shay will make sure that I see them. Okay. So we can ask him them. Those are your questions. I know down here I was reading your book when you made this quote stood out. It said, "People do not change until the pain of staying the same exceeds their fear of change." I
That's
thought,
right.
wow, that's pretty heavy. So explain how you arrived at that.
Well, I've been working with people for many, many years. So, as a counselor, so I know that people can sometimes be addicted to their dysfunction. So if I talk to people about, you need to trust your grown children to make the best decisions they know how to make for their life. They may not be your decisions. You might not think they're on the right path, but it's their path to choose, not your path. And so if they're so locked in to being that nurturer, that caregiver, that guide for their child forever, they're not going to listen to what I have to say until it gets so bad. And what happens sometimes with those relationships is the child, the grown child who's trying to live their life, gets mad and doesn't want to be around their parent and tends to not answer the phone when you call. They're busy when you come over to visit. Don't come around for Sunday dinner anymore. And so in your attempt to do the best you can for someone else, a lot of times we can drive them away. So when that pain happens and the person finally realizes, this is too painful to continue like this, I have to do something different, then they'll do something. But in the meantime, if it's tolerable, they'll just continue with what they're doing. So I know sometimes it's important for people to experience just a little bit more pain until they're ready to make a change. And that's actually been some good self-care for me, because as a counselor, you want all your clients to do better and to make better choices. But I have to practice what I preach. And I know that you may not be ready to make those better choices. You might not be in enough pain yet. So I need to give you some space and some room. Maybe you need a little more time doing what you're doing till you figure out that it is not really working. And so that's when you'll be ready to make those changes. I can't I can't make you do it.
Yeah, I was listening, and I'm thinking, reflecting on some of my relationships with friends that have, just drama in their relationships. And yeah, they whine and cry and want to just, repeat the same patterns over and over. And I guess they think it's going to magically be different. And at a certain point, sometimes I just get tired of hearing it, because I feel when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, then you'll stop. And then let's talk about something else.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Hmm. So what are the top 3 struggles that you think women have? I'm just so interested in picking your brain since you have so much experience at this. What kind of things keep coming up over and over and over?
I can tell you one thing in particular is that we have in our heads how we want our life and the people in our life to be. And in our heads, they're perfect. Everything is exactly the way we want. Our children are healthy, happy, smart, doing well in school. If they're athletes, they're excellent at whatever their game is. I mean, we just have this picture. We have the same thing with our spouses or our partners, right? We have a picture of who they are, what they're supposed to do, how they're supposed to do it, the things they're supposed to say, what they're supposed to like. And we've got these perfect pictures, but the people in our lives, they fall short of these pictures sometimes. And what happens is when people fall short of these pictures, we tend to use the behavior we think is best to get them to change. And it often comes down to complaining, nagging, threatening, punishing. We have these ways of doing that with people, trying to whip them into shape and get them the way that we want them to be. And I cannot tell you how much that hurts the relationship. And so I believe that that relationship is the root of all influence. And
Mm.
when we damage the relationship to such a degree that we lose all of our influence, we've lost what we're trying to do in the first place. So I think the biggest thing that we women do is we think it's our job to fix people and change people who maybe don't want to be fixed or changed. And it takes a lot of our energy and it takes a lot of our time, and we don't make progress, and we blame them for our lack of progress when it's something we shouldn't be doing in the first place. When you love someone and you care about someone, you want to accept them and support them and listen to them and understand where they're coming from, and put aside that perfect picture that you have and learn to love the person that's right in front of you, because they're there loving you back. You have to accept them for who they are. And that's not so easy for us.
Okay. So that's one. Is there anything else that really stands out as a major struggle?
Well, there's a lot of struggles that I would put under that heading, right? So there's the finances. Some women are savers, some are spenders. And for whatever reason, we connect with the male counterpart that's doing the opposite.
Really?
So, yeah, well, I have to say, honestly, those are the ones that I see. the
Oh,
ones
that's what
that,
I'm asking. Yeah,
yeah, the
what you
ones
see from
that,
your experience.
the ones that are probably doing fine, they don't go to a counselor, right?
Right.
So that's one of the problems that I see is, struggling with finances. One wants to spend, one wants to save. One is a risk taker, the other one's a worrier, so that can be problematic in the relationship. Um, Another one is uh, sometimes it's about prioritizing, how we prioritize our time.
Mm.
And we all have the same 24 hours in a day. And there are some women that seem to be able to get everything done that they're trying to do. And the rest of us, we get done with our 24 hours and we say, what the heck did I do all day? So, and it's okay to have a day like that every now and then. That can be very refreshing. You just have a lazy day and maybe you binge watch some Netflix or do something else that's,
Right.
not, you don't have to be productive all the time, but it's about prioritizing our time. And I like the concept that Stephen Covey taught me. It's about maybe you've seen it, but putting the big rocks in first. So when you have a container, and he shows this in a video, when you have a container and you put the big rocks in first, and then you put the stones in, and then you put the pebbles in, and then you put the sand in, and then you put the water in, you can fit everything in the container. But if you put the water in first, and then the sand, and then the little rocks, and then the big rocks, it doesn't fit. So we
Oh.
have to prioritize the things that are most important to us. I remember when my children were teenagers, my husband died when my kids were 13 and 15. And so my kids were the most important thing to me. And yet I worked all the time because I had to make money
Right.
to pay for my kids.
We need to eat.
And of course they always needed soccer uniforms and shoes, and they needed stuff. So I remember at the beginning of every week when I would block out my time, they would be first, and I would ask each of them, what's one thing I could do this week for you that you would really appreciate? And whatever they said, I put that in my schedule first and I built everything else around it. So it might be, I'd really love it if you'd make me spaghetti for dinner on Friday night. Okay, great. I really want you to come to my soccer game this week. Okay, I'll make sure that I fit that in. So whatever it was that they wanted, I made sure to schedule the time for that. And then the rest
A
of the stuff
brilliant
fit around it.
idea.
It was great. And I only had 2 kids. If you're out there with 6 or 8, I worry how you'll fit
They
it
just
in.
have
But
to
I,
take turns. Well, it's your
yeah,
week.
right. You could do that. But something like that so that you are making sure that you are prioritizing what's truly important.
That is great. I'm sure that made them feel really good and heard and recognized, acknowledged, and like you made time for them.
Yeah. And
Good
I
job,
did.
Kim. Good job.
Thank you.
Okay, now this was really interesting. I'm flipping through the book and I got to this page where you had an exercise in getting clear on what our values are.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think, it's kind of reflecting on some of the advice letters that come in. I do an advice show every Tuesday. And there seem to be a lot of women that don't know what their values are, or B, whatever they say is a value is like a tumbleweed, just blowing in the wind. Soon as the guy wants something else, they switch up. But for those who maybe aren't really sure, you kind of had an exercise for how to figure out what your key value is. Can you quickly run through that?
Sure. So before I do that, if I could just say that it's another mistake that we make, you just made me think of it, is
Oh,
we
okay.
transform ourselves into the person that our partner wants us to be. We're busy transforming ourselves to meet their expectations. And a lot of times, once we do that, they lose interest.
Hmm.
So, getting clear on who you are, it's one of the first things in the book is figuring out who the heck you are, because if you don't know yourself, how can you like yourself? You certainly can't love yourself if you don't even know who you are. So figuring out your values is important. So I tell people that to write down 10 values that are important to them. So it might be honesty, family loyalty, integrity, kindness, whatever it is that you think is important. And then when people are done, I do this activity when I do my Choosing Me Now retreats. I'll say, okay, now pretend that the world has just turned on its axis and you can't have 10 anymore. You can only have 7. So cross off 3. I know. So when they're done crossing off 3, I say, oh no, there's another shift. And now you can only have 4. So cross off another 3. And then I take them to crossing off 2 more, and that brings them down to 2. And then they have to cross off 1 more. And they end up with the last value, whatever that is the one that rises to the top. And then the big question is, if that's your biggest value, are you putting your time, energy, and attention into that? Or are you waiting for that to just take care of itself? Because it won't. And if you're not aligning your life to match your values, you are going to be an unhappy person and you're not going to like yourself very much. And that might be a little under the surface. You may not even recognize that it's happening, but you won't be feeling in integrity. And that's important for anybody, but especially for us women. I think it's important for us to feel like we are living our life in alliance with what our top values are.
Are you ladies hearing this? So our theme this month is self-love. And what you just said is so important. Kim, I don't even know if you to this particular group. Um, it not only is it a refreshing approach, it's something that you guys need to write in your little books I suggested that you have for February. Okay, this Kim just gave you some stellar game on how to get your head right and in the game that before you go out and deal with another guy and get your relationship going. What she just said, replay the video if you need to. What she just said is key, okay, to you getting yourself on track and staying there. That's why I wanted you to say that. So,
Okay.
this is like so important.
Well, and what happens when you do that, when you get clear on who you are and you start walking in your truth and living your values, the right man will be attracted to you because he'll see you for who you are and not the self-improvement project that he's going to try to turn you into, whoever he thinks he wants. Well, we're doing the same thing with them. You won't have to do that because the person that sees you will recognize that you are the person that they're looking for. You don't have to change for other people. If you do, that's a sign that you're probably not in a healthy relationship.
Hmm. That's a healthy relationship with yourself. 'Cause
That's right.
I haven't met the man who could change me. I wonder who he is. He wasn't even my dad. Just like, that's a horrible daughter. So let's talk about this. Like, what tips can you give listeners to start gaining control over their lives in other ways? Like, sometimes what um, people will, for instance, instead of dealing with what they feel emotionally, they'll shop and get themselves more debt. And then it comes this vicious cycle of anxiety and stress because they just racked up a bunch of debt for stuff they didn't need. Instead of dealing with those emotions, maybe they need to figure out how to discipline their children better, but they avoid it by bribing them with stuff. I mean, there's just, so many different examples, but just kind of a general thing. What could people do? Any tips you may have from your professional experience to start getting them on track?
Yeah, well, this isn't going to be a quick answer, but I talked about the 5 basic needs that everybody has. So we all have these. We have the need for safety and security. We have a need for connection. We have a need for freedom. We have a need for significance. And we have a need for joy in our lives. So some of us have one or two of those needs higher than the others, right? And they're different for different people. So for me, my high needs are connection and freedom. So I know that if I don't have enough connection, and trust me, COVID-19 really messed with my connections, right? As they did with everyone else. And it wasn't as hard for people who don't have that high need for connection, but it was
Right.
really hard for me to try to find ways to stay connected, even though I'm isolated. So it's recognizing which needs are most important. That's the first thing. And then checking to see whenever you're feeling out of sorts or any kind of emotion about anything, I'm going to guarantee that it's one of these needs is out of whack for you. So take the time to do a little self assessing and say, am I feeling safe and secure? Am I feeling connected? Am I feeling significant? Am I feeling free? And am I feeling joy? And if if whatever the answer no is, and you might say no to all 5, I mean, that could
Ooh.
happen. I hope not. That's pretty, you're in a bad space if you have all 5 needs that aren't being met for you. But whatever need it is that seems the most important in that moment, I want you to have several ways that you can get that need met already, if you will, on speed dial. It's not really speed dial, but you want to have ideas of how you can help yourself feel safer, more free, more significant and powerful, more joy, so that when you're feeling a deficit, you have a list already that you can go to try to make that happen. So for me, to feel more connected, for example, I might get on a Zoom call with a friend. I might call my mom. I have one friend who's very careful and we go out to lunch once a week. So I might call her up and go to lunch. So that's been really helpful to me. Um, Email is good. I mean, just a way of connecting with people because my work is speaking. I speak to audiences, and that hasn't happened since last March, except on Zoom, of course. I've done
Right.
some Zoom stuff, but if you're a speaker like me, not everybody's the same way, but I feed off the energy of my
Right.
audience. I haven't had that. So, trying to find other ways to do that. For some people, I say buy a dog. And it's so funny because a lot of people did get dogs during this coronavirus. There's something about having a pet that you can love on and hug and they'll rub up against you. And cats are great, but they're freedom animals. They're not connection animals. A
Right.
dog is the connection animal. So if you're needing connection, get a dog. If you need freedom, get a cat. But have lots of ways that you can get those needs met so that when you're feeling out of sorts, you can do that instead of some of what we would choose as self destructive. Because there's a lot of self destructive things. We eat, we overeat, we shop, we rack up credit card debt, we use drugs and alcohol, we have affairs. I mean, those are all things that we do that can be self destructive, um, because we're out of sorts in another area and we haven't addressed it. We're trying to mask it and trying to kind of medicate ourselves and numb ourselves out sometimes. And it
Right.
just, it's not helpful. And you will hate yourself after that. So you want to try to keep that on the straight and narrow. But I like to say, if you're on a diet, for example, you won't be successful if you're not addressing your freedom need, because being on a diet cramps your freedom. It does. You want to have a piece of chocolate cake and you tell yourself you can't have that. So your freedom need feels frustrated. So don't feed that freedom need with ice cream. You've got to find another way to feed that freedom need. So, maybe go get a pedicure or a manicure or something. That's a nice freedom need thing. I like to ride on the back of a motorcycle with wind in my hair. That's a freedom thing for
Oh,
me. I wouldn't do it today. Um, I'm in Chicago. We have a little bit of snow.
yeah, no, that might not work.
But so you want to have things that you can do.
I
Um,
think one of the key things that I think that's important here, and I want to reiterate it for the listeners, see some people just copped in, was your point that, you should plan these things and acknowledge them in advance so that once the stress hits, you're not pitching around trying to figure out what to do. You already have a plan mapped out that you can just start executing.
Absolutely. Because when
Yeah.
you're stressed, you are not thinking clearly. So you're not going to be able to come up with a good plan. You might come up with a plan, but one of those self destructive ones.
Yeah,
You don't want
that's
to do
not
that.
good.
No.
Well, you guys can start typing your questions in. Oh, you're getting all kinds of compliments, Kim. It's like, oh, she's so good. I love this discussion. This is wonderful. She's great. So you can start typing your questions in. I will take them in the order that you type them in and share them with Kim. Oh, look, before I can even finish, here's the first one. Why do men applaud other men who claim that being single is great, but mock women for saying that we enjoy being single? Why do they have double standards that completely exceed rationality?
Well, is your audience women? Because the easy
Yes.
answer is because they're men. but
Yeah,
but it's
occasionally a guy one wanders in here and we all look at him crazy,
yeah,
but it's 90% women.
I love men. So don't get me wrong. I'm not a male basher at all. I have brothers, I have sons, so I'm very sympathetic to the men's dilemma. But they do often have double standards. It's cool for a man to be single because then they can play around. Women, on the other hand, tend to be more. Um, they prioritize relationships a little bit, like long-term committed relationships, more than men do.
Right.
For a man, the badge of honor is how many women he's been with. For a woman, the badge of honor is how long she's been with her man. So it's a different kind of thing. So a woman who says that she's happy being alone, I happen to be one of those women and I am very happy to be alone. It sounds like, to a man who thinks a woman isn't happy without a man, they have a hard time understanding it or believing it. So, what I would say in answer to that question, stop caring what men think about whether or not you're happy being alone. It doesn't matter what they think. You need to know how you think about it. And if you're happy and satisfied with it, then you just tell yourself they can think whatever they want. And you are just in your space, in your truth. And that's all that really matters.
Agreed. Because I feel like, unless what you're thinking over there is impacting my bank account, it does not matter to me what you think. I just don't care. Not being mean, but just want them to know it's nice that you think that, but it just has no bearing on over here. Question number 2 for Kim Oliver. How can you find safety in a relationship when one has trust issues and feels vulnerable?
That's a great answer, so, or a great question, rather. When I teach about trust, I think so often we trust our partners to be who we want them to be instead of who they are. And until we stop doing that, we're trusting the wrong thing. So, you, if you have trust issues, I'm going to guess it's because there's been people in your life who have violated your trust. We all have experienced that. It's so rare for me to find a person who could possibly say they're grown and they could say nobody ever violated my trust. First of all, your parents told you there was a Santa Claus, probably. So that's the first breach of trust that you had,
Yeah,
maybe. And it just continues from there. So, one of the things I talk about in the book is instead of deciding how you're going to be in the world based on other people's behavior. So, for example, I'm going to be untrusting because someone hurt me once and I need to protect myself. Instead, ask yourself the question, what kind of person do I want to be? And then be that person. So if you want to be trusting, then be trusting. But if you learn over time that this person doesn't deserve your trust, then move on and find someone else who does. So don't change who you are because somebody hurt you. I mean, somebody hurt you. I'm really sorry about that. And I don't think I'm unempathetic about that. But find your strength on the inside and say, you may have hurt me, but you're not going to change me. I still am a trusting person. I know there's good people out there. And by being trusting, I'm going to find someone that
right.
deserves the trust that I have to give.
Excellent answer. And I think, I want to just put a little frosting on there too for the shoot, I forgot who asked the question now. Part of what you're learning in your journey through life is how to discern who deserves your trust. So, yeah, I mean, the people that you might have trusted at, 20, well, at 40, you know better. So, but, what she's pointing out is you shouldn't change yourself in order to protect yourself and lock your emotions in a box just because of what some clown did. Here we go. Question number 3. This will be the final one, and we're going to close, give her opportunity to close out here. How to deal with jealous friends who try to bring you down. They're jealous of the looks and the male attention I get. I don't have many girlfriends. I wish I did, but there's always this undercurrent of competition.
Yeah, I address that in the book, only it's not so much in relationships, but it's the same idea. There's always going to be haters out there. And what happens is, as you become better at caring about yourself and loving yourself, there may be relationships that you leave behind because they don't serve you anymore. Not just male relationships, but female relationships
Mhm.
too. And so if you're leaving people behind, that's painful. I know it is. But trust me when I say that as you ascend the vibrational ladder with your energy, different people will be attracted to you, and you will find more women who are not jealous of you, who support you, who applaud you, who are happy for you when good things happen. So you may have been hanging out with some girlfriends because you were at that same vibrational level, but maybe you're not there anymore. And so there may be some time when you're by yourself and you don't have a lot of friends, but more friends will come.
See, that's a good positive answer. Yay. Okay. I got so interested in what you were saying. So, okay, this is a question I ask every guest since our
Okay.
theme is self love, to please share your definition of what self love means.
Mm. So for me, self love is about recognizing, those 5 things I said we need?
Hmm.
It's about recognizing that you already are those things. You don't have to go out and find them. You don't have to get them. If you find yourself alone on a desert island, you can know. So let's look at each one of those. You could say to yourself, I am safe. And it's especially true when you have a spiritual belief system and you know that even if you die, you're safe because you're going to be in the arms of your creator. So I have that in my background. So I know that I am safe no matter what's happening to me. I am safe. I am connected. And I like to say, I am love. I am love. I am significant. I already know that. I am significant. I am free. And I am joy. And when you can say those 5 things looking in the mirror and really mean them and know that they're true, to me, that is all encompassing self love.
Oh, that was so beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, as we close out, Kim, I want to, thank you for coming and give you an opportunity to let everyone know where they can find you if they have want to know more information and more information about your books and what you do.
Well, the book that we're talking about is Choosing Me Now, and that's on Amazon, or you can get it in bookstores. My last name is Olver, not Oliver. So if you think there's an I in there, everybody does. Just if you're looking for me, you won't find me with an I.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Also, my website is The Relationship Center, spelled the American way, TER.biz. That's B as in boy, I as in India, Z as in zebra. And you can go there. I have a blog. I have a podcast, as you already mentioned, and all of that's at the website where you can find that. And there's different products there that you can buy, and I also do coaching, so that's part of that website. So
And the coaching can be done online, correct?
absolutely, always online, actually. And I'm on social media everywhere. You'll either find me under Kim Olver or the Relationship Center on pretty much everything, except I don't have a TikTok account. Not interested
No,
in that.
you're not doing any TikTok
No, I
challenges,
am
Kim?
not. I'm not doing the pointing at the, no, but I do have LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So you can find me there and YouTube. So I'm pretty much accessible, except I won't be doing Reels or TikTok anytime soon.
Well, I just want to thank you once again for for showing up here and donating your time to make February a fabulous event, so educational, inspirational for all the viewers. I really, really appreciate it. And if I have not already, I will make sure that you get the link to the video.
All right. Thank you so much. It's been a
Thank you.
real pleasure being here.
Oh, we've enjoyed you tremendously. Let's talk to you later. Bye bye.
Bye.
All right, you young lads and ladies. That was Kim, and I'll have to go back and check because she was referred to me, and I do believe the document that I had an I in it, but I will fix it because we do not want to have her name misspelled on anything. That's just too rude. But I really appreciate you guys coming. Yeah, I thought, wasn't she great? So inspirational and so positive, and just like, you just want to feel like you could just go out and just challenge the world. But I hope you guys took great notes. It was very important. That's why I asked you before we even started February to make sure that you bring a notebook and keep you one notebook for the whole month so that all your notes from all these great speakers, we got 23 people that are professionals in the self-help field. They're counselors, they're art authors, they're coaches, they're teachers, they're great resources for you. That are here to teach you information, give you more information. Like, a lot of times, they have more experience at this than me. Like David did, he came when he has 40 years experience. I only have 30. So, dude is just out there. So when these people are speaking, I want you to take notes. I want you to, follow through with the suggestions that they make for you to improve your life, improve yourself and your situation, to make change and to make yourself better. Okay. So at the end of this 28 days, you should be a woman who is changed from the day before February 1st started. You should be your mind should be expanded. Your goals should be clear. Your focus and what you need to do should be very clear. The direction you need to go, everything should be mapped out and on point if you are doing the work that you are supposed to be doing. Feel free to watch any of these videos. If you got distracted and you didn't take notes or you forgot what they said, that's what's great about YouTube. You can go back and watch it 100 times if you need to. But this is key. I mean, notice how every show is getting a little bit more intense. That was intentional. Okay, we're going deeper and deeper and deeper. And so, you know, try not to miss any if you can handle it. But I want to thank everybody for coming once again. We'll be back tomorrow. We got, I think it's like 4 or 5 live streams in a row, and then we get a little break. We're gonna have a couple of uploads, so Shay and I can catch our breath. But you guys take care. If you have any questions, about any of the programs or the guests, feel free to write me, survivingdating@gmail.com, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Okay, do it. Go out and do it. I'll be proud of you. Make yourself proud of yourself as well. I'll see you guys.